Right-handed gavel.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's November 10th, 2025 school board meeting. At this time, we will begin with a moment of silence if you'd like to join us. Thank you. At this time, we'll stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance if you'd like to join us. We met earlier this evening in closed session, and so now we're ready to move on with our agenda. And the first thing we have for this portion of the meeting is public comments, and we do have one signed up for that. Nancy Bassett, the microphone is yours.
Is it turned on? Okay. Dr. Shiflett, Chair Horst, and school board members. Usually I come up here and I speak on behalf of the Education Association. Tonight, I'm speaking as an individual because there are two things that are very dear to my heart. One is our resource and our SPED students, and one is our fine arts programs. As a musician, I know that going to a 4x4 block will be hard for those students. I really would like for you to reconsider moving to a 4x4 block schedule. And I'm speaking from experience because my brother was a long time band director in Augusta County. He had a wonderful band program. And then Augusta County moved to the 4x4 block. And he was lucky if he could get 10 to 15 students at a time. Not only can you not really teach a class that way, it almost destroyed their fine arts programs. As a musician, I know that to be proficient as a musician, especially in high school, you need to have a year-long program. Many skills are lost by doing it by semester. And it is really hard for some of these students to regain those skills because they've lost too much time. Unfortunately, not every parent in our county can afford to pay for private lessons so that those skills can be retained. And as for the academic classes with our SPED and resource students, having a semester of math is going to be hard for them to start with the amount of time. To have it spread out through the year, they can gain the skills that they need. If they can't get the next class the next semester, a lot of those skills are lost. And I feel like our SPED and our resource students need the consistency. I really wish you could go back and reconsider this for all of our students. Not every person is a strong student. And having that break between different classes is going to be really hard for them. Thank you for this consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Board members, the next thing on our agenda is the consent agenda, and we just need one motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Cave. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Burgoyne. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. Motion passes 4-0. We're now moving right into action items, and Mr. Steve Reed, he is already on his way up here to put before us a bid recommendation for telecommunication cabling for McGackiesville Elementary School.
Chair Horst, Dr. Shiflett, members of the board, the bid for the telecommunication cabling for the renovation of McGackiesville was specified and advertised. We had 12 firms that we sent bid package to. We had 3 that attended a pre-conference and 2 firms responded with sealed bids as follows. Our recommendation is to award the contract to the low bidder Avia LLC in the amount of $85,081.51. They have worked for us in the past, and actually they are working on Elkton Elementary right now.
Chair Harrison, board members, I recommend awarding the bid for telecommunication cabling at McGackiesville Elementary School to the lowest bidder as presented by Steve Reed, Director of Maintenance.
Thank you, Dr. Shiflett. Board members, do we have a motion to follow?
I move to follow the superintendent's recommendation to award the bid for telecommunication cabling at McGackiesville Elementary School to the lowest bidder as presented by Steve Reed.
Thank you, Ms. Lurer. Do we have a second? Thank you, Ms. Cave. Any questions or comments for Mr. Reed?
Is it normal that the bids will be that far apart? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not competitive at all.
The 2 companies that bid seem to flip-flop bid to bid, where one of them is much lower than the other, and then the other one comes back and gets the other one at a much lower price. Actually, the other company did Broadway High School Edition and is doing Pleasant Valley, and they were much lower. And Avia has done Elkton Elementary and McGackiesville, and they're much lower on that one. So,
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of awarding the award the bid to the lowest bidder as presented by Mr. Reed, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed
you.
say no. Motion passes 4-0. That concludes our action items for this evening. We have 3 information items this evening. Starting with the Virginia Preschool Initiative, Ms. Michelle Judd is coming forward to present to us.
Good evening, Chair Hurst, members of the board, and Dr. Shiflett. It's great to be here tonight to talk with you about the Virginia Preschool Initiative, VPI. VPI distributes state funds to provide quality preschool programs. It does require a local funding match. It aims to reduce school entry disparities and risk factors that lead to early academic failure. It provides high-quality preschool for at-risk children and prioritizes students meeting state eligibility criteria. In Rockingham, we have 20 VPI programs across our division. All 15 elementary schools have at least one program, and 4 of our elementary schools have more than one program. Those are Cub Run, John C. Myers, Mountain View, and Plains. Our programs serve 4-year-olds, and on October 1st, our enrollment was 333 preschool children in the pre-K VPI programs. All of our VPI programs have an appropriately licensed teacher, and they also have an assistant. VPI does require, if there are more than 10 children in a VPI classroom, there has to be an assistant, another adult in there. I mentioned that, oh, sorry. Catch up here. Okay, I mentioned that we do prioritize students who meet state eligibility criteria. So I've got listed the criteria there. It's if a student is from a low-income family, or if the family is experiencing homelessness, if the student's parents or guardians are school dropouts, or if the child has a disability and they're eligible for special education services. They only need to meet one of those criteria to be in VPI and receive priority. So when we first begin to screen students, it's typically March in the spring. And about March through the first part of July, we'll prioritize those students with state eligibility criteria. But we know that there are other children who will benefit from VPI beyond those listed there. So the state does give us some flexibility later in the summer to begin offering spots to students who meet local eligibility criteria. So for example, a student who has limited English proficiency would qualify through local criteria, or the family, the parents have limited English proficiency. If the child shows some delays, as indicated by the developmental task assessment that's completed by the teacher during the screening process. If the child comes from a single parent family, the child does not live with their parents, the child is in foster care, or the parent is absent from the home for some reason, if there's a history of parental substance abuse, or there are speech concerns and the child doesn't have an IEP yet, these are all criteria that could qualify a student for VPI. And again, they only need one of those, and they get some points for meeting those criteria. The state has an initiative, it's called VQB5, that stands for Virginia Quality Birth to 5. And VQB5 measures and supports quality in early childhood programs, so children enter school kindergarten ready and ready to learn. VQB5 consists of observations in all of the early childhood classrooms. There's a tool that's used, it's called the CLASS observation tool. It's CLASS in all capital letters. It focuses on adult and child interactions, and the observers have to be trained before going into the classrooms and certified. CLASS also looks at whether a quality state-approved curriculum is used. In Rockingham County, all 15 of our elementary schools have received the meets expectation rating from CLASS observations. The observations occur in the fall and in the spring, and they're completed by a local observer and then an external observer that will come in. Our pre-K programs use a state-approved curriculum. It's called Blueprint. And our pre-K programs, our pre-K classrooms do have some required state assessments. We use the Virginia Kindergarten Readiness Program. It's VKRP. It has several components. It's got a literacy component, and that's the VALs, and you've heard of VALs because we use VALs to assess other grade levels as well. There's a mathematics component, and then there are components that measure a student's social skills and self-regulation skills. And these assessments are required by the state, and we do them in the fall and the spring for pre-K. I've got some Virginia data to share with you just to show why pre-K is so important. 49% of Virginia's kindergartners began the 24-25 school year needing to build skills in literacy, math, self-regulation, and/or social skills. Only 2 out of 20 students in low-income households with no preschool experience enter school ready or enter kindergarten ready. Virginia children who enter kindergarten ready are more likely to read on level when they're in 3rd grade. And I've also included some Rockingham County data. Think about the fall 2024 kindergarten VKRP data. I don't have the reports from the fall 2025, so I'm going back a year to share some data with you. And then the students who participated in VPI in the 23-24 school year. So they participated in VPI in 23-24, and then we're looking at their kindergarten data. 72% of those students met the kindergarten VALS benchmark. 85% of those students met the math benchmark. 78% of those VPI students met the social skills benchmark, and 85% of the students met the self-regulation benchmark. So we're getting good results for our students who are attending VPI. VPI includes a really big parent engagement component, and it's important also to get feedback from our parents. So every year there's a survey in the spring. So I compiled some data from the spring 2025 survey. We got a lot of positive comments from parents. They feel good about the program and the benefits of the program. So I'll just share some of the comments with you. Thankful for pre-K. Our son would have struggled in kindergarten without it. It helped prepare for kindergarten, instilled in him a love of learning. Thankful my daughter had structure and preparation for transition into kindergarten. Teachers taught him so much and made him feel safe and cared for. Loved the pre-K program. Our child grew socially and academically. I'm happy about my child's progress and hopeful for kindergarten success. Our daughter loved it and truly blossomed this year. And then beyond the data, there are so many other benefits of the pre-K program, and who knows best but our pre-K teachers. So I surveyed them, and they say that children learn to follow rules and routines, to take turns, to share, cooperate, to respect others, and express feelings appropriately. Children gain confidence and independence by managing belongings, cleaning up after themselves, and handling daily routines with minimal help. They develop self-help skills like using the bathroom, washing hands, and dressing independently. They learn to listen carefully, to follow directions, and speak in complete sentences when sharing ideas. They build vocabulary, enjoy stories, and begin to recognize letters and sounds. They learn to express wants and needs with words instead of actions. They learn letters, sounds, patterns, and counting, plus classroom manners and friendship skills. They increase social emotional skills, the ability to communicate, and school readiness skills, including academics. They benefit from play-based, age-appropriate learning with peers. They receive love, food, and exposure to the English language, and they develop curiosity, problem-solving skills, and practical life skills. It's a really good time for me to publicly thank all of our teachers that work with our youngest learners in our early childhood education programs. So I have the pleasure of working with VPI, but I've also gotten to know our teachers and staff who teach in our early childhood special education programs, our ECSE teachers. So I want to thank all the VPI staff and the ECSE staff. We have itinerant ECSE teachers who are supporting our students with disabilities who are in our VPI classrooms. So they've been really helpful to our teachers and to our students. Lauren Arbogast is here tonight. She's one of our VPI teachers, so I thank Lauren for being here. And Michelle DeFries, I want to mention her. She is our family services worker. She's a great support to me. She does all of our local VPI class observations. She is a leader in our professional development for our early childhood teachers. And she's a great support to teachers when they're having some struggles and they need somebody to come in and provide a little bit of coaching and a little bit of support with students. So it's a wonderful program to work with. I really enjoy it. And if you get into the pre-K classrooms, you will feel loved for sure. Thank you, school board, for supporting our preschool programs. Do you have any questions?
Board members, do you have any questions for Ms. Judd before she goes?
You said that in classrooms where there's over 10, there's a teacher and an assistant. About how many students are in those classes? Because I hear that they get filled up.
We do fill our programs up. Rockingham tries to cap those classes at 18.
Okay.
And the state will allow us to have up to 20 in there, but we try to go a little bit
18 's
lower
probably,
than that.
yeah, good,
Yes.
sufficient.
Mhm.
Do you track any progress from these particular children after kindergarten?
I don't have any data to track that.
Okay.
That's a really great question.
Mhm.
Did you have questions, Ms. Burgoyne?
I will just add, both of my twins just finished pre-K and it was amazing. And Carrie Bardo, she is an amazing teacher. And I joked with her at the end of last year that my boys were going to be very bored in kindergarten. And like the second week of school, they told me, they're like, we're so bored, because they just had gained so much knowledge. And it just, I wish we could have pre-K available for every kid. I wish we could have 4 classes in every single elementary school, because the program is great and they just learn so much. And my boys are just soaking everything in. And I mean, they're reading already. And I just didn't know that that was possible in kindergarten this early. So it's been, I know Sarah always says it's because you're a good mom, but I think it's also, I have to give credit to their teachers because they have such a unique way of teaching and different skills that I just, I'm not a teacher. So they're just really thriving this year. So I owe a lot of that to pre-K. So.
We have wonderful pre-K
Mhm.
teachers.
Absolutely.
They're wonderful.
She's right about that, but I share that because I wish that all parents understood truly how important it is to talk to your child and have conversations with your child from birth to age 4 when they enter pre-K. There's a lot of literacy and language development that happens in those years that a lot of our kids come to kindergarten ready to go and many don't. And a lot of it is just what we do at home as parents matters a great deal more than I think many people realize. My question is with the regarding funding. You said it requires a local funding match, and then you gave criteria, state eligibility criteria and local eligibility criteria. Are we getting state funding matches for the local eligibility, the kids that qualify based on our local? Or
We
is it
do.
limited to those that are on that state eligibility list?
No, that's a great question. So the way it works is that initially the division needs to have 85% of the students that we enroll meet state criteria. That's based on the initial application that's completed in the spring. And then the division has the opportunity to submit a waiver application and request flexibility to enroll students who meet local criteria. So that's something that Rockingham does every year. So for example, I submitted that application for the waiver in May, right after I submitted the regular application, and requested that Rockingham be allowed to have 30% of students meet local criteria. And that was granted, but they don't grant that until mid-July. So I can't start filling those spots with local students until later. But once they grant that, that means that all of those students who are in VPI generate state funding for the division.
Do we have a wait list?
We do. We always keep a waiting list.
How deep is the wait list? Because I see when I look at our kindergarten enrollment numbers, about 800, you said we have, I think I saw 385 preschool. So we're looking at about just under half of our students that come to us for pre-K. So that means there's another group of students that are either getting no preschool or they're paying for private preschool.
Right.
So
I
how
think
deep is that wait
I
list?
think we have now at this time, 38, 39 students on the wait list, and that's division-wide. There are some schools that don't always have a waiting list depending upon where they are in the county, and then there are other schools that have long waiting lists. So there, I kind of keep that data, and there may be times where I'll talk with Mr. Moyers about the possibility of adding another program somewhere. You may see that come to you because there is some funding with the local match that comes, but we kind of watch that.
Okay, that's where my questions were going.
Yes.
You answered that question.
Yes.
And then when you meet the state criteria, you're almost guaranteed a spot. But if your home school fills up, then they can shuffle you to another school, which we originally didn't get in. And I was kind of relieved as a mom. I was like, oh, good, I'll just keep them home. And then about a week later, My boys both had a small speech delay. And so that's how they were eligible after everything was full. But we do shuffle kids around. They may not go to their home school
That's
originally.
exactly right,
Okay.
especially when children meet state criteria. So, we have like a school like Peakview, they always have additional children on a waiting list. If they meet state criteria and Cub Run has a spot, since they have 2 programs, we'll offer the parent a spot at Cub Run. So the state qualifying children should take priority regardless of where it is in the division. And then in the end, once we've taken care of the state criteria children, we can also put students who qualify locally in other schools if the parents are able to transport them.
That's what I was going to ask. We won't
Yeah,
provide
correct.
transportation.
We try to fill up as many spots as we can.
Any other further questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on our information items, Dr. Emily Holloway is going to present on our high school course offerings for the 26-27 school year.
Thank you, Chair Hirsch, Dr. Shiflett, members of the board. Thank you for having me this evening. I want to give you an overview. Each year, we update our program of studies to reflect the academic plan of course offerings for the upcoming school year. And typically, at this time of the year, we present that as a draft and then come back for final approval. This year, we have several additions for our high school students that reflect choices of a pathway toward graduation. And tonight, I'm going to go through the changes and updates kind of briefly. And I have those highlighted on here, and I am more than welcome and willing to meet with any of you that would like to sit down and go through it in further detail. It is a lot of changes and proposals for that. So our highlights and what they include, beginning with middle school, I will note that our middle school courses in the program of studies, it does list all of the required classes, the academics and the PE, and then it lists out the elective options in grades 6, 7th, and 8th. The middle school changes are really just updates for consistency of keeping course names consistent. For example, art, instead of having like 2D and 3D art, combining the concepts there and having Art 6, Art 7, Art 8. Some of the names at the middle school level in art and in technology were repeated again in high school, which meant that they were showing that they had taken the class twice, when in fact in middle school there is no high school credit for that. So we just tried to clean that verbiage up. We added Choir 6 as an elective that has actually been offered, but needed to be in the program of studies. For our challenge courses in grades 6, 7th, and 8th, we added the verbiage for challenge students only. That is a change in the program of studies. And last but not least, under middle school developmental reading 8, we made the change of may be required to no longer listed as being required, since we have the reading plans and are doing remedial work through middle school with that. I will note before moving forward into the high school classes especially, the key thing about the program of studies is for a student to sign up for a class, for it to be offered, it should be in our program of studies. Now, there may be things in there that are not offered at every school, and that is noted, but to take a class, it should be listed in the program of studies. Sorry. So I'm going to start with our high school parts with the UCGS, Uniform Certificate of General Studies. And this is a mandate that we, along with Blue Ridge Community College, offer a pathway for our graduates to receive half of an associate's degree when they graduate through dual enrollment. There are a lot of logistics to that. The key piece is it is required that we are offering an option for that. If we do not have the certified staff to teach that, Blue Ridge will provide that in some fashion. Now, that does not mean they come into our school and teach the class, but they will provide that instruction. Moving forward from here through the rest of the high school classes, a lot of things reflect what we chose in this. So we met with Blue Ridge several times to choose our pathway for the UCGS, which is 7 blocks. And some of them are required classes, others are, there is a plethora of offerings that students could choose from. We as a school division choose a pathway that we're going to have offered, okay? And that would be for the dual enrollment. Students could, of course, go to the college and get a concurrent credit and bring it back and it fill one of their blocks. Again, that it is a little tricky and specific, so I'd be more than happy to explain it in detail. That is for 11th and 12th grade. Moving forward, our lab school was started at Broadway and East Rock, this year at TA and Spotswood. So next year, we need to move forward in thinking about the 11th grade offerings for lab school. So we have met with JMU and we have planned out the rest of our lab school offerings. 11th and 12th grade will happen on JMU property, taught by JMU instructors or Blue Ridge instructors for the dual enrollment that is happening. So we included that, and we also tried to align it with our UCGS offerings, that students that choose the pathway of UCGS back at the high school would also be taking a few different classes based on instructor availability at the college at JMU. So, which leads me to what used to be in our program of studies as a chart that showed our college credit offerings. We have made a change and put 2 charts in there, one dual enrollment and then one that is concurrent enrollment. Dual enrollment is when you are on Rockingham County property taking the class. And so you are enrolled in maybe English 11 and you would receive English 111 and 112 at the college level. Concurrent enrollment is when you're not on Rockingham County school property. You go to a college, JMU or Blue Ridge, and you bring those credits back, and they would then give you credit for a high school class similar to dual enrollment. It's just not happening on school time. So we have aligned again the concurrent and dual enrollment offerings with our UCGS and lab school, so that students that are going to do other dual enrollment or even concurrent options would kind of match what those in either of those pathways are choosing. As we look at the additional high school courses, a lot of these are, again, due to needing to add in those dual enrollment classes because of the UCGS. For example, public speaking dual enrollment that we are having at lab school, we wanted to put that in our program of studies for students that then again, if they would go to a college and get that, they could bring that back and get a high school credit just like those in lab school. So all of these courses are detailed out specifically in the actual program of studies that you have a copy of. These are, again, are just the highlights. Additionally, with high school, we have some additions in our electives. Fine arts, we have the audition choirs, non-auditioned, and musical theater elective. CTE electives added food science and dietetics, travel and tourism marketing, and computer programming. We did make a change to our existing business and industry mentorship elective that now requires an application and must complete a sequence of CTE course related to that placement. We have really tried in looking at our electives, specifically CTE, and for lack of better words, maybe a landing when they go into 9th grade, or if they took an 8th grade high school elective or high school elective credit in 8th grade as the landing point, so that we're making sure that students are becoming completers and moving further for the 3 E's for graduation requirements on accountability and accreditation. So some of these were to just align that and really move our students through even getting to higher level in CTE. Lastly, under high school electives, Latin is removed because this is the last year Latin will be offered in school. Work-based learning. Some changes came from the state, and so our work-based learning moving forward will meet the new definition. It has to be aligned with the CTE course completer. So if you're going to do work-based learning in clinical experiences, entrepreneurship, internship, registered apprenticeship, school-based enterprise, or the select immersion supervised ag experiences, it has to align with the CTE completer course that you're doing. You can't just go and get a job outside of your pathway in high school. MTC, we noted on here the course changes. These I listed on the slide. They are already at MTC. They just needed some additions, changes based on meeting the DOE regulations. So they are not new classes. The Virginia Department of Ed had some updates, specifically our program of studies notes in our diploma selection. If a student is seeking an advanced diploma, completing Algebra 2 before taking data science. We also added the PE and Health 9 that needed a SCED code that was previously missing, and the Code of Virginia requirement for econ and personal finance. Again, the program of studies, I believe it's 57 pages. Obviously, once the draft is approved with those additions, the title page with the page numbers, all of that will be updated, once all of that is complete. And I am working with Katie Lapira to try to come up with an online application for this. So clicking on certain content that will move people to that. I don't know that we'll get that. It would be the same information though, so it would not be any additional information. It would just be easier to peruse for parents. So again, I am more than willing to meet with you to talk through the UCGS lab school or any other questions.
Board members, do you have questions?
I'm just curious, where will the food science class be taught? Is that
That's at the high school.
no, but is it part of the, like
Family
what used to be
co-
called home
Family
ec?
and consumer science,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, because ag actually has a food science component as well. So I was just, and that's actually what my degree's in. So I was just curious. So thank you.
I think that class, if I'm not mistaken, is the one that's in farm to plate in
So
8th
it's
grade.
dual enrolled. That would make
Right.
sense. Okay,
Mhm.
very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Other questions? Why are we removing Latin?
That decision was made prior that we would continue out based on, I believe it's staffing availability, licensure for teachers.
Okay.
Lack of student interest was the main reason.
Okay.
We basically had just enough students at Spotswood High School to sort of kind of limp along here towards the end, but I don't think at Broadway or Turner Ashby, we haven't offered any sections, and maybe East Rock, maybe a couple of years ago. So it's sort of
No interest.
no interest. And so you can't, when we have, limited resources, we have to make some decisions. And so it's not something that students are interested in taking. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Holloway for all the hours you put in preparing the UCGS, and the lab school has added a wrinkle to this. So thank you for working, with various folks, with Donna and Carrie and Blue Ridge and JMU to get all this stuff aligned. So it's a little bit confusing. I do encourage you to reach out to her if you have more questions about specific natures of, of this. I asked her to come tonight and sort of give us the 30,000, view overlook of this, and then we can drill down a little deeper if necessary.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Holloway. All right, Dr. Shiflett is coming up to present some information on our capital improvement plan.
Chair Hurst and board members, if you will recall at our September the 22nd meeting, I presented some information about our capital improvement plan, and I wanted to circle back to the draft of this plan this evening. And I want to make a couple of comments before I get into the heart of the discussion. So this is a draft, and it really almost continues in some ways to be a draft until we as a board vote to renovate, remodel, add an addition, or what have you. And, you know, Steve does all of his work getting us the design, and we put it out to bid. But we work in collaboration with the County Board of Supervisors to also be able to blend what our needs are for capital improvements along with their needs and what they're facing and what their obligations are. So we kind of make that work together. And to show you sort of the flexibility of this, in the fall of 2023, when I presented the plan, there wasn't any addition listed in the 5-year plan for an addition at Pleasant Valley Elementary School, right? It wasn't on the plan. But as we got into the spring of the year and looking at enrollment, we realized we needed to do something. So in 24, we added it to the plan. So I say all that, this is not etched in stone, but it kind of guides us in what we're thinking about and what we're doing. The board doesn't necessarily approve the plan as it is. We go to the, I will present this Monday, November 17th to the county's CIP committee. And again, they will incorporate our desires and our needs with their bigger picture of all the county's needs, whether that's fire and rescue, the sheriff's office, or our community services board. So what I presented on the 22nd was a renovation addition to McGaheysville Elementary School and building a new technical center for MTC. And we are in the process of, I think most of the design work is finished for McGaheysville and what will be occurring there along with the addition. That'll be out to bid. It is out to bid currently, and Steve will be coming forward at some point in the next couple of months to award that contract to someone. And we are in the process of working with our architect to design a new technical center. So that's happening. We had the addition to Elkton Middle School, a renovation in addition to Spotswood High School, hoping the project would start in the fall of 28 and be finished by August 2030, and the addition to Montevideo Middle School. And if you go back in time and look at 2023, actually Spotswood was ahead of Elkton Middle School on our CIP. But we had some conversations about redistricting and whether or not we wanted to try to leverage some of the space that we have at East Rockingham High School and Elkton Middle School. And we knew if we wanted to leverage that space at East Rockingham High School, Elkton Middle School needed to be bigger. It could not accommodate any more students, right, if we're trying to fill East Rockingham High School. So I asked Justin today to pull some numbers for me just to kind of add a wrinkle to this, if you will. Current capacity at Elkton Middle School 610, current enrollment's 557. If we take the current 8th graders who are there and, you know, hopefully they are successful and get promoted to the high school, and hopefully all of the 5th graders at South River and McGaheysville and Riverbend and Elkton Elementary School are successful and they get promoted to 6th grade, our enrollment would be 523. And then if we fast forward and go another year, the current 4th graders coming up the ranks, 513. Now that doesn't include any growth or any students moving into the area, but it gives you a sense of where we are. And I share those numbers with you to say we could potentially, if the board desires, talk to our county folks about moving Spotswood back in front of Elkton Middle School in the process. So moving that renovation up to the fall of 27 and to be completed by August of 29 to get that started a little sooner. I know Steve has a committee of folks, administrators and teachers who I think met once, perhaps twice, to talk about the desires for Spotswood in terms of what they're wanting to do with the actual renovation of the building. And we also have our architect doing some legwork to get us a better idea of what a better estimate on what that project will cost us. And we just can't forget that somewhere out there's going to be a new elementary school, and I don't know, maybe it can come after the addition at Montevideo, maybe it comes after Spotswood, but at some point we have to have conversations around that as well. So I just wanted to kind of bring another perspective from last time to say, you know, at the last presentation, there seemed to be some interest in trying to move Spotswood up on the CIP. And I think we could accommodate that if we're not moving students to East Rockingham and Elkton Middle. I think that can be accomplished, and just moving Elkton Middle down. I will say, and I've said this many times, we do need to give Elkton Middle School some attention. Our other 3 middle schools have 2 shop lab areas for technology class and ag. Elkton Middle School only has 1. And so that is somewhat, in my opinion, a bit of a disparity. And so when we do the remodeling, or excuse me, not the remodeling, it's been remodeled, sorry about that. When we do the addition, we would try to address that and make sure we have 2 labs. Questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, what ifs, what abouts?
Both plans, whether Elkton first or Spotswood, or we kind of flip those, assume that we will be redistricting elementary east. Unless we decide as a board, need to move the new elementary school further up and make adjustments.
So that would be part of the conversation. As I presented at the September meeting, I think we had a couple of options. We could redistrict, we could move the elementary school up. We still have some room at Peakview and Cub Run, and so we can, again, this is sort of a fluid type of approach. When do we need it? I don't want to be late to the game, right? But trying to determine where we are. Peakview's numbers as of today have been holding steady. Cub Run has increased, 20 kids, nothing really significant, but it's, and we have room there, right? It's just a matter of what approach we want to take.
So the projected enrollment for Elkton Middle is without any redistricting?
Correct.
Okay.
And in the presentation on the 22nd, we did not have any students going to Elkton Middle and East Rockingham. It was only just to the elementary shift. So we had talked about that as well, right? And not in open sessions, but just conversations with board members one-on-one, realizing that, the capacity at East Rockingham's like 1,250, and we have, 800 students there, 850, I don't know off the top of my head, but we have room. But we also know that since the meeting on September the 22nd, I'm not sure or when that information came out, but Merck is going to be adding, I think, $3 billion of expansion to their factory and the Elkton community. So don't know how that will impact housing and development in that part of the county. So maybe it's a good thing that we have lots of room on the east side, because maybe there's going to be more potential growth. We do know there's some growth coming to Massanutten, but that's still a few years out. So we have some time on that end.
How long do you anticipate the Elkton Middle School renovation to take? Yeah. So am I reading this right? There's a little tiny gap from 29 to 31, like 6 months. On this plan, we've just basically got 6 months that we're not shovels in the ground building something, right? The way this plan's laid out? Am I reading it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that's good.
How
Thank
long?
you. Thank you for all your planning on this.
Yeah,
Is that the
and I think that's something we have to keep in mind. So if we want to, like say, for example, if you feel like, hey, as a board, we would like to move Spotswood up on this CIP, then we need to be having these conversations with Steve so they can begin to design work in earnest, right? And not just wrapped around conversations of give us a better guesstimate, but we need to start thinking about getting the work started.
Is that 18 months the same for a new elementary school plus 6 months, so 2 years? When this board says, hey, we're ready for a new elementary school, we're saying that's 2-year process? Okay.
not be a repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
I guess to expand on my question just a little bit more, can these projects overlap more? Is this as tight as we can get things?
Right, and it depends on the county and also what other projects they may have going on, right, that they need to take care of outside of the school projects, right? I understand from my conversations with Casey that they have some areas of concern that they need to address. So I think it's, I will present this November the 17th, and, then their committees will, that committee will have a conversation and try to get a plan moving forward. And make sure the monies are allocated to start these projects when we need to go.
I think what runs through my head is poor Spotswood. And, I hate that it's so far out, but I understand why. And I don't know if I'm just completely naive that we couldn't do something, not move them up, but do something in the meantime to fix some small things and renovate a little bit, unless I'm being completely ignorant to what is needed there. And if we're going to go in and replace, sinks, but then in 2 years, we're going to rip out the entire bathroom, is that pointless, right? I would love to build an addition on my house, but I'll take my husband upgrading a few things in the meantime. But I also, this isn't my money, this is taxpayer dollars. So I don't want to waste their money putting in a temporary fix, but I also know Spotswood needs some love. So I'm looking to you guys. Right.
You don't want to go in, say, spend $12 million replacing the roof.
Right.
In 3 years, we go into implementation and we walk away. Kind of the same thing. Go in the spot with windows, doors, similar to what we've done. I think too, there's also a little bit more buying power, if you will, when we're putting these projects out to bid to say, come and let's do a facelift at Spotswood, just like we're doing at Elkton Elementary, as opposed to trying to piecemeal.
Right.
And hopefully we could do the addition at the same time. And again, I would welcome to take any of you folks, or you can go on your own to take a look at Elkton Elementary School to see what work has already taken place in the transformation in a very old building that, but it's a complete overhaul. Looks great.
And I think we're having similar thoughts, except I'm sitting here like, oh, poor Montevideo. Because I mean, we had a discussion earlier about how Montevideo has no space. And I mean, yeah, we're getting tight in lots of places.
Yeah.
So if there's any way we could maybe be a little bit more aggressive and not cost the county.
Yeah, right. And remember here, 2026, there's this other little line that says building a new MTC. Don't overlook that line.
Yeah.
I did. I didn't see that till just now.
I mean, that's
big.
That's
And
big.
that's
Whatever.
another one of those things that's been needed for quite some time.
Right. So it's, so when you start adding these up, right? I mean, I don't know, I don't have my calculator, but we've got millions of dollars on this little piece of paper of expenditures. And yeah, it'd be nice if we could do them all sooner rather than later, but there has to be some spacing of what we're going to try to accomplish. From a
Well, not
financial
just for the money,
standpoint.
but also for the contractors. I
Right.
mean, they don't have people to build 4 schools at once. And we do want to keep that more local. So it's a lot. So thank you, Steve and Dr. Shiflett. Thank you guys for working so hard on this. There are no easy solutions.
Yeah, I guess I skipped over the new MTC on there, and I was thinking, we don't have anything going on in 2027. But, so just to comment on the Elkton Middle School, Spotswood, what comes first, what comes second? I guess I would say right now in 2025, like I don't have any reservations, but I surely did in 2023 when it was 605 and we were over capacity. So is this just the natural ebb and flow? Like because that's way down.
It is, and
From
that was
2
what I would
years.
say, sort of a bubble right, of the population that came through for, about 2 years, and now it's beginning to move out. And again, we have to keep a pulse on the growth across the division, because I think Montevideo, Elkton, Spotswood, they're all, getting near capacity, and we can't do them all at once. So how do we space this out? And what makes the most sense to you folks? When I looked at these numbers today about Elkton, I said, well, perhaps then we can switch them on the plan for now and move forward and see where that takes us. And again, I put this all in the context of, I will share this with the county, right, and the Board of Supervisors, and they will try to figure out where those dollars, where they come in at the end of the day.
Do you guys have thoughts, or do you want to think about? Because in my heart, I'm like, oh, but at the same time, we're almost 100 down from where we were in 23. If you'd said this to me in 2023, it'd have been like, no way.
It seems like we have a little bit more time to maybe wait on Elkton. And I think a lot of the growth and development in and around Turner Ashby and Spotswood, when we talk about redistricting, which we can do, the redistrict plan needs to make good sense. And right now, I don't know that I have, when we talk about, in order to make this plan work, there's going to have to be redistricting. But when we look at the redistricting proposal, I'm not sure we have the right plan yet, because, we're talking about moving kids from Kieseltown. They'll drive past Peakview, which they already do. They go to Cub Run, and then we're just going to keep them going down east to McGahkeysville. That doesn't make sense to me. And that's not, okay, so they'll go to Spotswood. It just kind of I almost feel like the current redistricting proposal, which I know is just kind of a rough plan and probably needs tweaked. I don't know that that's the plan that I'm comfortable with. And it's not because I shy away from redistricting or doing a hard thing. We'll do it if we need to, but it needs to make sense, and it needs to be what's in the best interest of the whole division. Because even with the addition at Pleasant Valley, I still think we're going to come up against there and need to do something as well. So that one's over in the TA district, and I think Pence and TA can handle the growth, but I don't know that Pleasant Valley can, even with the addition. What will that look like in 3 years or 5 years? And so I think a lot of those lines around Peakview and Cub Run, those are already kind of wonky, and they have been. They have been kind of wonky since Cub Run was built. And we can fix all of that if we go the new build. But I also know this just feels kind of like a moving target. We just can't know for sure when all of these things are going to come on board and all the developments, and you don't know for sure. We have better numbers coming from planning and development at the Board of Supervisors level. They've got better numbers coming to us with what these new developments are bringing to the school division. But even that's just really good guesswork, and that can change. So I think it's something, it looks right to maybe move Elkton, like put Spotswood a little sooner than Elkton. That looks and sounds good, especially seeing the enrollment projections for Elkton Middle School. I think we need to keep talking about the new elementary school, because as Mr. Reed has pointed out, if we said today, it's still 2.5 years away from completion. So how to balance redistrict, what does that gain us? And what, if we're wrong, then we got to send them all back. It's just, I don't know. I just want to be really thoughtful. I don't want to make any quick decisions on it. But I do want to say I'm grateful to the Board of Supervisors, because they've been very good to work with as far as this capital improvement plan, because they just want to know what amount of money. And of course, they can't afford to do everything all at once, but they have been really good about working with us and finding funding for these projects. And I know not every school division in the Commonwealth is that fortunate to have the capital improvement plan money that we need. And so I do want to say thank you to the Board of Supervisors for working with us and being flexible with our needs kind of changes.
No, I want to echo that sentiment, the partnership and the collaboration with the Board of Supervisors. This process with the CIP every fall revisiting to see where we are, what our needs are, and the Board of Supervisors are wanting to help us, but as you indicated, we can't financially do it all in a 1 or 2 year period. And so I just, again, thank you to the Board of Supervisors for their support. I agree with you, Chair Hurst. I think Pleasant Valley with a new addition may just fill up that space on its own, and we're not going to have a lot of extra space there. That's my sense. I may be wrong, but we'll have to, see how that plays out. And the other thing I'm going to have to say here, just so I guess I'll go on record for this, if we build a new elementary school, we're still going to have to redistrict students to that elementary school, right? So there'll be some students, we'll say to them, you no longer go to Cub Run, or you no longer go to Peakview, you're going here, right? Or maybe we take kids out of Pleasant Valley, we'll have to see, but students will still have to move schools. So we're not getting away from that. It just may make more sense to you, and maybe there's an opportunity we could finally clean up those lines and help them make sense, because we did a bus tour, was it last spring? And it was sort of a little bit wonky trying to figure out, which road went to Cub Run and which road went to Peakview, and a little bizarre. So I understand that.
I just quickly mentioned this. I don't remember what meeting here recently. Do we definitely need the addition at McGaheysville?
So if we
I
keep,
know that probably makes Steve go, ah!
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's cringing. So I think with some development that is coming to Massanutten, we would reap the benefits of having that additional space at McGaheysville if we don't move students east, right? Part of that redistricting plan was to move basically Massanutten and that mountain to Riverbend. So I guess you could still possibly do that. I mean, that's a conversation. I'm not sure, I haven't surveyed the community if they would want to do that, but that is a possibility. But I think with some of the already approved development coming to Massanutten, I think there would be some value in having some additional space at McGaheysville.
okay.
And if not, in the next 5 years, probably 10. I mean, Rockingham County is going to continue to grow, and it is nice to have room. And Chair Hurst and I had this conversation, like we talk about whether there's room at East Rock and, Riverbend, Elton Elementary School, that's a good thing, right? So we have room to grow. And if there's developments that come along because of some of the expansions at Merck, then that's even better. We're ready for it, and we're not scrambling to talk about, do we need to build an elementary school?
One more question really quick.
Sure.
I didn't see in our paperwork today, capacity at Spotswood, is that about 1,200 as well, or is that?
No, it's about 800,
It's
850. So is it?
Okay.
No, it's 1,000. Yeah, it's 1,000. That's right. And we're hoping to take it to 1,200. So
Which is about what East Rock did?
yes.
Okay.
So the idea is that all 4 of our high schools would have about the same capacity, between 1,200 and 1,250. Yes. So it's about 1,000 now.
Okay, so I know renovation is certainly needed at Spotswood. We definitely do need the addition. Or it
Yes.
just makes sense to do it at the same time, but do we need it?
Yes.
Just-
Mhm.
okay.
Absolutely. And Steve and I are having a debate about where it goes.
Okay.
Build up, build up. All right, any other questions, comments?
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Dr. Shiflett. Board members, the Finance Department staff report dated November 10th is in your folder for your review. And that brings us to the close to the end. We'll give Dr. Shiflett just a beat, but we have superintendent comments now.
Yes, thank you. It's me again. So first of all, I want to say congratulations to the Spotswood High School girls cross country team, led by head coach Tara Massini and assistant coach John Denlinger. They defended their state title on Saturday in Salem, and they are now back-to-back state champions in girls cross country. So really proud of that accomplishment. I would say it's hard enough to win a state championship, much less win back-to-back state championships. So happy about that. I enjoyed my opportunity to go to the National FFA Convention recently. We had a number of students who were competing. we had a number of students who were on the stage. So you think about, the 60,000 plus students who are, attending that convention and all the students involved in the FFA. And we had a number of students who were in the top 10 in their particular categories of competition. And Miss Lohr, I think, was on the stage with 6 of those teams that she either coached or mentored them. And so she got to be on the national stage there with that. And it was really good to be a part of that. I also want to say on this past Friday, I had a chance to be at Turner Ashby High School, and Mrs. Angie Oskanoski had a Veterans Day celebration, and it was absolutely phenomenal. The small commons was totally full of veterans. FFA students fed them breakfast that morning. They had a wonderful ceremony in the auditorium, music, and the senior class participated. All the other students watched it live stream in their classrooms. And then at the end, they had a walk where the veterans walked the hallways. Students lined both sides of the hallways and cheered for the veterans to give them honor and thankfulness for their service. And so that was just maybe the highlight of my month. And then finally, I would like to, after the Thanksgiving break, create a committee of teachers, administrators, and families to examine our current grading policy. And I have 3 goals with that. One, I want to build some consistency across the division. And I know that grading is really near and dear to people's hearts, but we'd like to have a little consistency with that. Also, I want to make sure we're continuing to have high expectations for student learning, and also provide having the grades just be more than a letter, but giving students information as to how they're progressing and mastering the content. So I'll keep the board apprised of that as we move forward and get that group together and work towards making some recommendations.
Dr. Shiflett, with that committee, are you looking at just middle high, or are you looking at all?
I think we could perhaps look at all, but more of the conversations I've had with folks is about what they're seeing at the secondary level. But I think it would just behoove us to have look at the entire pre-K-12 grading promotion policy and see where we are and see what, revisions need to be made, what's warranted.
I fully support that, by the way, so thank you. I think there's a number of inconsistencies, but I'll speak from elementary experience since that's where I taught. I think we need to take a look at our expectations for what qualifies as an A in English or in reading. And the reason why I say that is when a parent looks at a report card and you see an A or a B, you presume that your child can read and is doing well on grade level expectations. But we kind of moved away from that years ago. And we started giving students in elementary school a grade based on where they were and their ability to, so if you have a 3rd grade student reading on a 1st grade level, they could still get an A in 3rd grade in reading, despite the fact that they're 2 grade levels behind, because we were grading what they could do on their level. And if they were getting an A on a 1st grade level, that's reported on the 3rd grade report card. And I think that sends a very conflicting message to parents, especially then when we measure it against SOL scores, right? Because a student who's reading on a 1st grade level, taking their SOL test in 3rd grade, is probably going to struggle immensely. And we have conversations all the time. I have had as a teacher and then just as a community member, parents are like, but they had an A. They had an A all of 4th grade and then they failed their reading SOL, and I don't understand. So I feel like we need to, I think there's a very solid understanding of what grades mean to community members and how they are interpreted. And the messaging we were given when I was teaching was that we just needed to articulate in the comments, your child's A is based on what they can do at their level, which is below grade level expectations. But I think that's too many words. I think we need to, I think some people understand what that means, but I also think we just need to be able to have real and honest conversations with parents. And that's what the report card is, real and honest conversations with parents. If your child is behind, we need parents to know that so that they can take action, right? So if my own child is getting an A or B in English, I'm assuming things are going well. And then when we're not passing, I'm assuming things are going well, no reading tutoring necessary, we're just floating along. But if he's getting a D or an F, I might take some more urgent steps as a parent, or be a little bit more engaged. So I just want to make sure that our grading policies at the elementary level are real, like they're real also. I think that might be across the board, but I just want to flag that as a concern when you're talking about grading expectations. Okay, that moves us into other business, which is school board highlights, questions, and comments. Ms. Burgoyne, do you want to begin this evening?
I will. I don't have any highlights or comments. I have missed my whole family. I do this every year. I make a comment that nobody's been sick all year, and then my entire family. I know we all get taken out. So I haven't been able to come to anything the past about week and a half. But we're all on the mend now. But I always do this, so I've missed out on all the Veterans Day events, and I hate that. But I've kept my cooties away.
Ms. Lohr?
Yes, as Dr. Shiflett said, I was able to go to the National FFA Convention, and we had a group effort. It took a village to get some of these kids to National Convention, and more than just the Ag Science Fair kids. We actually had an ag teacher have a horrible accident and was unable to go. So we stepped up and kind of wrapped love around those kids. And I do want to say, we have just the best community, and the thoughts and prayers that went up for that ag teacher and the love that we wrap those kids around in, it warms my heart. And I just love our community. And that community also helped us get 8 students, 6 teams as national top 10 finalists to the Ag Science Fair. And I would like to read those names for you guys tonight. We had 2 10th place students, Madeline Gilkison and Rhiannon Mongold. We had an 8th place student, Olivia Hartman. 6th place, Parker Young, and 2 4th place teams, Molly Hilton and Henley Higgs were one team that placed 4th, and Noah Barb and Leah Seiler also placed 4th in their different Ag Science Fair competitions. And I am just so super proud of those kids and all the kids that participated in Ag Science Fair this year. They all worked really hard. And guess what? They learned science. So that makes me super happy too. But yeah, just thanks to our community and thanks to everyone who supports our kids.
Ms. Cave?
I wanted to continue with what you were saying. So I was going to jump in. But let me just say, I did get to slide into the district championship, I think it was, for the one-act plays on Saturday at Harrisonburg High School, and got to catch East Rock and Spotswood. And every time I go to those things, I'm just like amazed with the things that these kids can remember, and not just remember and recite a line. It reminds me of that Minion movie, Despicable Me, where the littlest girl was like, "I love my mother. My mother is great." Like none of. Do y'all remember that? She had no personality. She was just reading her lines. And that's never the case with any of our students, like whether they have 7 words in the whole act or they have like the main part. I mean, they just all do it with top-notch excellence. And it takes really good teachers to pull that out of kids. And I think a lot of them perhaps are shy to begin with. Some of them that I have known have just come out of their shells with things like the one acts and the dramas and theater and play, choir, band, all of those things. So thank you to our teachers, and that was a real great experience. And I just wanted to go back to what you were saying, Chair Hurst, about the reading thing, the grading. I'm excited to hear that you're looking into that, Dr. Shiflett, and I certainly echo every sentiment that Ms. Hurst shared. That was something that we talked about really extensively right before we came on board. I want to say it was the Pence meeting that some grading stuff was brought up, and then we started, I don't know that they were talking about elementary, but we started talking about elementary and how parents view that, and they're like, oh, my kid is doing great, and it really turns out that they're not. And so that is yes, let's please push that forward. I'm excited to hear that we're doing that because we just want the best. And I always pick at third grade. I'm like, kids should be reading by third grade, and that would be my dream, that everybody by third grade is on third grade level. So anyways, if this will be part in getting them there to that mark, that would be awesome. So thank you. And I think you can. So that's all.
Dr. Shiflett, where are we in conversations about the 4x4? We haven't had a presentation or really any board discussion about it. So just wondering if that's in committee right now or what's happening?
It is in committee. Mrs. Abernathy has had one meeting, I think, so far. And she did a great job organizing that meeting, brought in many different stakeholders from different content areas and began having conversations. And they're generated some ideas from further discussions. They're going to have some folks come in and share with them, but she has not provided any information. And I think maybe there's some misinformation that the board has decided to move to a 4x4. The board hasn't made any decision about any direction of scheduling. So I think it's just, more work on her end to collect and gather more information and to bring that at some point. Maybe it's second semester before she has all that together. I want to give them some time to do some work. But so no decision's been made yet. It's just more of information gathering.
Okay. So okay. Understood. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I mean, I'm just trying to think back to when I was in high school because I'm almost positive we had a 4x4, but I think it wasn't that long ago, but I feel like there was an option where, like Mrs. Bassett had said, with the fine arts where that block could be an every other day all year long, if I remember correctly.
Like a hybrid.
Yeah, where we had, the 4x4, but then there were electives that you could flip flop all year long. And so you could still accommodate band, choir, things like that. But then if I remember correctly, I had stuff that I did first semester and then it switched second semester. I am not musically inclined in any way, shape or form, but I certainly remember like our band was all year. So.
Right. And I think that's part of the discussion as well, right? So when we say 4x4, I don't know that we're talking about a purely 4x4 model only, but having those conversations, and is it, a blended model? Do we continue doing what we're doing? I don't think they're talking about the traditional 8-period day, but I don't know, maybe someone would bring that up. I don't know. No, Donna says no.
Maybe we should throw that in and talk about that.
Donna's shaking her head no, so I guess that's not going to happen. So no decision as of yet. And I will say this, I think, when I looked at her presentation, I wasn't a part of it, but as she was trying to present the information, she did a great job in putting that work together. There's pros and cons, right? There's advantages and disadvantages either way. And so that's the nature of it. So we're trying to determine what would best meet the learning needs of our students. That's what and again, one of the downsides of an odd even is when you're out for a couple of days, students come back, they've been out for 4 or 5 days, your class lesson is a review of what you taught last time because they forgot, right? So trying to build some consistency, I think that's one of the advantages. But as you heard this evening from the speaker, that's, the disadvantage is when you only have classes once a semester. So maybe the 8-period day is the way to go. I'm not sure.
What prompted this? Did somebody, or is this just looking at options? Because I appreciate that. I would prefer to have every option on the table, fact find on everything, and then.
Mm-hmm. So I think part of this came out of some discussions during COVID. We went to a 4x4 when we were doing at the high school level, when we were doing the asynchronous and synchronous learning. We felt like it would be best for students just to have 4 classes to focus on and not have the whole 8. I know at East Rockingham, they tried with the 4 core classes to do that with their freshmen this year to not overwhelm them as they come in as freshmen. You just have 4 classes to focus on. Let's get these taken care of. And then next semester you get 4 more. But if you're not successful, we can restart you in those 4 so you can get some credits, right? One of the things we want to make sure happens is that our freshmen earn credits that first year. That's really important. And sometimes that doesn't happen, and then they have an uphill climb to graduate. So I think it's just part of the conversations. Surrounding school divisions do it. Augusta County does it. I think Harrisonburg has a blended model. Shenandoah maybe 4x4. I do think perhaps Greene County is a 7-period day, I think, across the mountains. I'm just saying there's just different ways to go about approaching it. And no matter what direction you go, there's trade-offs, right? So we'll Donna will have some information at some point, and I don't know when that will be, but she'll bring it to the board for information, and you can ask questions, get more information, and try to make a decision. It's like with any decision, I'm almost certain some folks would be happy and some folks would not be happy, right? So.
Board members, is there anything else before we adjourn? Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Drive safely, and this meeting is adjourned.